And I'll pass the mic over to you, Philip. Very good to have you with us.
Yeah, thanks for that lovely introduction, and it's so good to be with you all. What I'd like to do is give a little context for a practice, and then following the practice, I'd love to open the floor to a Q&A, and that would be my very favorite part of our time together. It's your questions that provoke me into discovering relationships, different ways of thinking. So I thank you in advance for any questions you may bring forward. Um, Resilience is the overarching theme of this festival, and there is a there's a secret that our culture keeps from us, which is that a body that is not confused with inner divisions will ground you in reality. Now, our culture provokes us into carrying divisions within the body. I mean, it says, put the head in charge. The body is just a vehicle. Our whole impulse in life when we're stressed is to allow our energy to go higher and higher and higher, as though if the head could just take complete charge of ourselves, it would guide us truly and safely. And then there are other divisions that the body harbors. We get an emotional assault, and we cannot process it in the moment, and it's stored in the body, and we store beliefs in the body, and there's this whole inner network of tensions that keeps us compartmentalized in a way. And I think of these unintegrated energies as orphans. We have been unable to feel them. If we in the moment allowed ourselves to fully feel this situation, we would risk annihilation. So that storing of energy in the body can be life-saving. But then, there comes a time when you find your feet, you've grown, you've got history, and you can revisit that and bring the body back into its wholeness, to gently integrate those shadows, those orphans. Any unintegrated energy in the body is reactive. It is there to keep you safe, and it's as though it jumps out seemingly out of nowhere to keep you safe in a situation where it perceives danger, even where there may not truly be danger. But that reactivity is very different in my mind from responsiveness. Um, Responsiveness is a dance with the present. It it arises from the whole of your being without division, and it's in proportion to what is happening around you. Unlike reactivity, that is really responding to the past, to a past event, and transposing it into the present. So responsiveness is grounded in the security of your being. Reactivity is grounded in fear and the need for safety. And to me, there's a very helpful distinction to make between safety and security. Safety is contingent. It depends on control and anticipation and barriers and vigilance and separation. And God bless it. Safety is great. You don't want to just step into traffic without looking both ways first to make sure you're safe. But sometimes we buy safety at the risk of neglecting security as I think of security. So security, my security is not contingent. The security of your being is something that no one can take from you. It doesn't depend on circumstances. It is that ability to drop into the body as a whole that grounds you in your reality. And there is that foundational recognition that I am. And with that recognition, there is an ability to meet the present without resistance, without needing to push it away, I suppose. And it's not security isn't a passive state. I think our relationship to the present is one in which the present is continually activating us. When you really drop into the present, I think you'll find I do anyway, there's a little impulse, and you know what your next response will be, what your next course of action will be. So if your body has been brought out of that divided, compartmentalized state into which our culture encourages us, and your body is grounded in reality, it will allow you to rest in your reality. And by so doing, you return to the security of your being. And so, how do we navigate our way to the body's reality? How do we navigate our way to the reality of our being? So for me, there are 5 qualities of being that are inherent in the body. And every one of those qualities is something our culture pulls us away from. So our culture, in that sense, is almost directly pulling us out of the security of our being. So let's look at those qualities. Being is inherently spacious. A physicist can look into a diamond, and in the physicist's eye, the diamond is 99.9% empty space. You, in that sense, you are 99.9% emptiness. And to connect with that emptiness is at the same time to open yourself to the world. But again, we live with these constrictions, these pressures, these stresses that deprive us of the reality of our own spaciousness. So I'm not holding up spaciousness as an ideal to which we might aspire. It is your reality. And so you can't achieve spaciousness, but you can surrender to it. You can surrender to that quality of your own spaciousness. The second of these qualities is fluidity. We forget that we are 65, 70% water. There is an inner ocean within us. We are fluid beings. And it's our inner fluidity that allows all the exchanges that run through the body and keep us healthy. But again, we lose our sense of fluidity. The body becomes a constricted thing with the compartments that we set up within it. We impair the exchanges of life and health that carry us through the moment. And again, that fluidity is our reality. It's not something to achieve. It is there. It is your being, and how to surrender to it is the issue. We are grounded, which is the third quality of being. Like all of life is in a primary relationship with the earth, and our life is upheld by that. And we have been in relationship with the earth from conception. We've been held within its embrace. And yet in our culture, our energy goes higher, we disconnect from the earth, and our legs become prosthetics. And we sort of perambulate around on these prosthetics, whereas the legs teem with information, this connection with the mother. And we rest on the mother through our legs, and we are held. And when we dissociate from the legs, we cut ourselves off from the ability to come to rest on the earth. And I think there's an equivalence between being at rest on the earth and being at rest in the body and being at rest in the present. The fourth of these qualities is centeredness. Everything has a center. If I throw something in the air, it rotates around its center. Nature moves in spirals, and every spiral has a center, and the earth has a center, and it revolves around the sun, and our galaxy has a black hole at its center, and we have a center of being that I feel in my pelvic bowl. And our culture has encouraged us to move that center into the head, where it's disconnected from the earth, disconnected from the body, and we try to run susceptible to our stories and imaginings, and buffered from the life and nourishment that the present offers in every moment. And the last of these qualities of being is attunement. Everything that is attunes to everything else. The body, in that regard, is like a singing bowl, and it resonates to the present. And in that resonance, there is a guidance that will help you take the next step, will help you move along the keel of your purpose and stay true. And without that guidance, all we can do is sit in our heads and try to decide our ways forwards. It's such a different thing to drop into the body and come to rest in the present and feel the body like a compass needle quivering to the present and pointing the way forward. So those qualities of being, again, they are your nature. To reclaim your spaciousness, your fluidity, your groundedness, your centeredness, your attunement, is to open the doorway to the security of being, that quality that no one can take from you. And it's not a quick fix. It is a lifetime of little surrenders that deepen you into your being, but I don't know of a journey that is more worthwhile. So I would like to talk you through a practice that explores many, many of those, not all of them. I call this practice the trickle down. And I'd invite you just to take a moment to settle. Recognize, sort of feel all the things you are carrying at this moment, and see if you can just let them gently fall away, the way a tree might shed its leaves in the autumn. And just allow them to drop to the earth, and allow yourself to drop to the earth. And maybe bring your awareness to the breath, and feel how the breath can be felt like a tidal wave that moves through the body's fluidity. And again, to surrender to that breath wave through the body, to allow it to course through you gently, gently. And still you're settling and you're settling. And I'd invite you to bring your awareness to the spaciousness of your body at this moment. Where does it feel spacious? Where is your body lacking that spaciousness? Where is that spaciousness impaired? And just take your time with it and feel Feel all the places in the body where that spaciousness is available, and all those places where it's impaired. And where it's impaired, that's where I feel the orphans. That's where I feel the shadows. The impairment of spaciousness is the result of micro tensions of habit that we carry in the body, and to be gentle with those, to be accepting of them. And you may, for instance, notice a little secret pocket of anxiety somewhere in the body. And I'd invite you, if you notice such a thing, to feel it as specifically as you can, to locate it as clearly as you can, and to do so without judgment. So it's not, the way you bring an orphan into a home is not by pushing or forcing. It's love that enables it to step over that threshold and feel welcome. So to bring love to that little bound energy in the body and your full acceptance. And you may also notice, sort of in the background of your being, a white noise. It's like a static of energy that is just buzzing, and it's the energy of our pushing culture that doesn't trust rest. And to feel that energy within the spaciousness of your being, to feel its presence in the jitteriness of your cells. And again, to feel that without judgment, to just be willing to be with it in your full acceptance, to be present to it and completely accepting of it. You may also notice a tugging in the body. We live in a state of anticipation that is vigilant for what we need to do next and where we need to be and all the things that we have to get done. And any little tugging towards the future is a tugging out of the present. And if you can feel within the body's spaciousness the presence of that tugging, again, locate it for yourself as clearly as you can. Feel it as specifically as you can. And give it your unconditional acceptance. And I'd invite you to bring your awareness to the energy of the legs and the spaciousness of the legs, and to feel anywhere that spaciousness is compromised. And recognize that, again, as unintegrated energy. And as you would open yourself, your heart to an orphan, if you can open your heart to that compromise, those shadows, those held energies in the leg, and you may even feel it becoming a little more spacious as you do. And I'd invite you to bring your awareness to the energy of your thoughts. So not to the thoughts themselves, but to recognize that behind those thoughts is an energy that drives them. And this is an energy that also takes up space in the body. It's a little like peeking behind the curtain to discover the Wizard of Oz, and see if you can feel that energy that drives your thoughts. And again, to feel it without judgment, without condemnation, to give it your complete acceptance, to locate it within your being as specifically as you can, and give it your unconditional welcome. And I'd invite you to open your awareness to all the other places in the body where your spaciousness is compromised, and notice it in all its diversity and all its specificity. It may be a little like opening your eyes on a star field at night And you feel all that energy held within the spaciousness of your being. And then, as gently as you can, allow that energy to begin to melt. And you feel it melting within the body. And as it melts, it begins to trickle down through the body as water might trickle down through pebbles. And you feel this release of energy, this cascade, this washing down through the body, down through the hips, down through the legs. And you feel eventually the first little trickle arrive on the soles of your feet. And it pools within your feet. And as more energy descends and releases, you feel those pools grow. They begin to rise within the body as a tide might rise. And still you're noticing anywhere in the body that there is stuck energy, that the spaciousness is compromised. And wherever you feel that, give it your love and feel it respond to that warmth. And as it does, it will soften and begin to melt. And then you can follow it as it releases. You can feel it trickling down, down, down through the body. And as that cascade descends, you'll feel that energy rising in the legs, rising up eventually to the pelvic floor. And still you're noticing all the energy in the body, wherever it's taking up space, wherever it's held. And you give it your love and patiently, patiently feel it soften, feel it respond, feel it being seen and able to release. And there is that descend, that drop down through the body as that energy trickles down, trickles down, trickles down. And in response, that fluid energy rises up eventually to the top of the pelvic bowl. And as the last few trickles descend through the body, just take a moment to notice how much space there is above the pelvic bowl, how much room there is within the body for the breath, for all the world to travel through you, to pass through you, for everything to be felt. There's nothing to impede it, nothing to stop it. The spaciousness is impeccable and makes room for everything. And then bring your awareness to that fluid energy in the legs and the pelvic bowl. And discover for yourself how to allow that energy to come completely to rest on the earth. And what does it take? What is the risk, the personal risk that is involved in allowing that energy, to allow your energy to come completely to rest in this moment on the earth? And you feel it deepen and deepen into rest. And you feel the weight of that energy come to rest on the soles of your feet. And see if you can allow it to rest more deeply still. And you may feel that energy join the earth, join the mother. And see if you can allow it to come even more deeply to rest. And you feel yourself come to rest in the present. And I would invite you to linger there, to feel those qualities of being, to feel the spaciousness, the fluidity, the groundedness. And in that place of rest, can you allow your awareness to dilate into the present and still at rest, still at rest. Allow yourself to simply attune. It doesn't require language. It doesn't require thought. Can you feel the present? Can you feel it resonate through the spaciousness of your being, even as you rest within it? That brings this practice to a close, but I would invite you not to leave it behind you. I would invite you to carry it forward and maybe, reflect on those qualities that are your nature, your spaciousness, your fluidity, your groundedness, your centeredness, and your attunement to all that is. I like that in the chat, the bottom of my feet won't stop tickling. That's so lovely. Thank you for that. Yeah, Tranter, I struggled and not able to relax to allow the energy to rest on the earth. Trauma of years, when was helpless to get safety and had freeze response. Triggers get that same fear come back. Even when I'm not in the danger, the threat response is there. Energy of thoughts is not able to shift from negative experiences that I was not able to stay safe in. As I feel shame and pain will come again if I relax. I completely understand that. And just to say that trauma, that early trauma, is not healed by our culture, but is deepened by our culture. And how to be gentle with yourself, how to be as gentle as possible. And if I were to suggest anything, I might just start with this. How gently can you feel your own breath? Just that. And to spend time with that and see where it takes you. Georgios wrote, that's brilliant, Philip. Yes, there's always energy attached in any and every thought. There's no true, without unconditional acceptance, there's no true liberation. Thank you for that. The chats are going up. The lack of liberation could create toxicity and further slavery and often psychopathology, both in mind and body, psychosomatic, such as lack of fluidity and even worse. Thank you for that. So embodiment would be detachment from the toxic and surrender to fluidity. That opens the doors of perception and action in more authentic and productive ways. Thank you. Yeah. Melody wrote, I like the idea, but the practice was not accessible to me because being attuned in that way is not yet something that feels safe. Really big hell no was what I felt. Fair enough, Melody. I mean, everyone's at a different place. Everyone's ready for different things. And to honor the hell no, to understand that it is in your best interest, as it understands your life and your circumstances. It is in service to that, to keep you safe. So honor that and see how gently you can be with it. Helen, Brian, thank you. Exactly what I needed. I feel lighter and freer. Lovely distinctions. Thanks, Howie, for that. I've been processing from Stephanie's processing trauma for years, and this practice felt wonderful. My nickname was the Great Spaciousness when I started playing Tibetan singing bowls. The irony is that I was not connected to my physical body. Thank you for leading me back into the security of my body over the years. Thank you, everyone. One last one from Shannon. Such a lovely practice. How do you conceptualize the phenomenon of what happens to the spaciousness when tension, restriction, and resistance occurs in the body? How do you visualize what is happening on what plane, energetic, physical, etc.? I'd be delighted to launch into that. I know Virginia has a little announcement before we get into the questions.
Okay, so while everybody's pondering their questions, I just want to say I'm aware people were coming in. I've pasted Philip's website there in the chat for you that came in late again. You can see more resources. And I want to remind everyone that's been coming in, this is the first day of the Embodiment Festival. As you can see, it's pretty awesome. And we would encourage you very strongly to share this event with friends. Think of a friend that you can share it with. Think of somebody who will be grateful to you for coming in and listening to talks like these. I just want to quickly share my screen and show you what's coming up. So afterwards at 6 p.m. UK, we've got live coaching from Mark, and then we've got a talk in German, and then how to stay sane, and then much later on, more America-friendly times, how to cultivate inner resilience. If you liked Philip's talk, there's loads of similar talks from different speakers, different perspectives. You might like Fleet Mall tomorrow at 12 noon UK time. You will definitely love Kathleen Booker, who I've seen coming up there at 8 p.m. UK, who's a breath practitioner, and she's probably going to do a nice practice. Just check out the rest of the schedule. We've got full packed days to suit all time zones. And the schedule is there. You get at the festival, you can have a look. In the meantime, I'll let Philip answer the very interesting questions Shannon said, and there's a few more. So
Yeah, I'll see how many I can get to. Shannon, thank you for your question about how do I conceptualize the phenomenon and what happens to the spaciousness when tension, restriction, and resistance occur in the body. As I feel it, any tension I am holding in the body, and I want to draw a distinction between there is energy in my body all the time running through it, and that is very different from energy that is held, that is stuck. And that's what I understand as unintegrated energy. Any tension I feel in the body, I understand as a form of resistance to the present. So then the question that arises is, what is here that I cannot be with? Or what does this bring up in myself that I cannot be with? And you know, if the inquiry is patient, it physically changes me. I hope that's helpful in some way. Sally Bayer, have you got any advice, Phil, for people working in highly stressful situations where their attention is not on themselves but on their patients? I work with clinicians grappling with imposter feelings. They often don't have time to reflect whilst in the midst of challenging situations. You are most able to help another when you are fully present to them. And to be fully present to someone else, you need to be fully present yourself. And that, you know, not to diminish the difficulty of what that entails, but to understand that service doesn't mean going out of your center. It doesn't mean losing yourself in another's needs. I think the greatest gift you can offer anyone is to be fully present to them. And to me, that is where service begins. And that you know, we are depleting our own energy. We are depleting our ability to access the nourishment of the present when we move out of ourselves, when we lose the body, when stress takes our energy higher and higher. Again, I don't want to present it as a piece of cake, but we often are guided by erroneous assumptions, and then to address the assumptions and to understand that if I am to truly serve this person, I need to be fully present. To me, that's a really strong starting place. From Karen, starting with a guided practice feels like a good place to start. Thank you. You know, there's a geography to the body's intelligence that our culture doesn't recognize, and to have landmarks brought forth with guided meditations or practices is a means of coming back to it for yourself. It's I don't know what your journey to wholeness is. I don't know what my journey to wholeness is, but if we can facilitate that by resensitizing the body to its own wholeness, it's a great beginning. There was a question from a German listener earlier who had difficulty understanding the fifth quality of being. It's attunement, and I don't know what, of course, I don't know what the German word for that is, but we attune to the world the way if you had a tuning fork beside a piano that was playing, that tuning fork would be resonating to the music. Thank you, Lara, for your comment. So very grateful for your insights. It's like the recap I so much needed after dancing unconsciously, guided by an unknown force that catapulted me out of my safety zone. Thank you for that. It's I don't think the journey to embodiment can be made successfully without understanding how our neurology has been encoded by our culture in the opposite direction. So, you know, even I would never talk about listening to the body as a form of embodiment. It's an important step to embodiment, but you know, you look at the metaphor of listening to your body and it's saying, well, there's a wall separating you from the body, and the best you can do is sit in your head and put your ear to that wall to listen to what's happening on the other side. So our culture is caught in this headist paradigm, and until we step out of that paradigm, and there's so many other cultures that show us the way, Australian Aborigines, there's a Aleut elder, Ilarion Merkuliev, who talks about learning to go for hours without one thought going through his mind. He was simply attuning, and it's how his culture survived. Do you have any advice from Vish? Do you have any advice for how to begin a career in mindfulness embodiment meditation with a limited budget? Would love to do CEC, but have to wait for funds. We need mentors. At least I did. I think everyone benefits from mentorship, and I've been so enriched by other cultures showing me the way. I mean, I know on my website there's a membership. It's $20 a month. It gives you access to unlimited practices, such as the one I just talked you through. So, I mean, that's a bit. I don't want to self-promote, but it's something I strongly believe in. You know, making this material available to as many people as possible. So you might check out the membership on my website. Diane, or Natalie rather, been off work for a couple of months due to pain during pregnancy. I go back tomorrow. I have anxiety about falling into habits of people pleasing and taking on too much. I'm able to stay grounded and have good practices outside my work, but switch into a very nervous energy when working. Any tips on staying embodied when everyone you work with are high performers, not embodied, versus stepping out of the environment is the only way? Again, I go back to being present. We are trained into what I call presentation mode. When you are an infant, you likely learned that your wholeness was unacceptable. You were too noisy, you were too demanding, you got angry, and it's unacceptable. And so in infancy, we come out of our wholeness and learn to present ourselves in a way that will win the hug that we so desperately need, that will win that smile of approval. And then we go on presenting ourselves through life. And there is a choice between being in what I call presentation mode and being present. And it can sometimes feel rude to allow yourself to be present because you're not upholding this sort of unspoken rule of engagement that says, well, I'll support who you know yourself to be if you support who I know myself to be. But to come back to the breath, to come back to the patience, to, anytime I feel myself being caught in a pattern, the most effective strategy for me is to just pause. The pattern requires the momentum. And when I pause, the pattern just falls away. So to give yourself the permission to just pause and see where that takes you. And my hope, my hunch is it'll take you more deeply back into your being. What kind of wisdom would you share with an athlete who's looking to play from the genius of the pelvic bowl? Oh, I play tennis from the pelvic bowl. Not that I'm a genius or a great athlete, but as an athlete, athletes talk about being in the zone, and being in the zone is this dilated state where there's no conscious thinking, there are no decisions being made. You're just feeling the whole and you're guided through it. And that quality of being in the zone for me is precisely the quality of being at rest on the earth, at rest in the pelvic bowl. When I allow the center of my awareness to drop down through my body and come to rest on the pelvic floor, my awareness dilates into the world. It's like the effect of a drop of water landing on a pond, and you get those concentric ripples spreading through the pond. And that's what happens with my awareness. It drops onto the pelvic floor and my awareness dilates into the world. And when I'm running, when I'm playing tennis, that attunement is so much more precise and effortless than any sort of conscious willfulness I could bring to it. Is it possible to work on manifesting a better future at the same time being present? Look, the way I feel it is we each have a unique cluster of gifts. No one has your gifts in the proportion in which they live within you. And the world is whispering to you in every moment to put those gifts into service. And to answer that call, to feel that whisper, to feel your purpose, the present is the potentiality of your future. I mean, everything that is coming, everything that will be, is here now. And so to land in the presence is to feel that compass needle quivering, pointing the way forward. And then, it's one thing to be on purpose, to live the purpose of your life, but it's another thing to know what that purpose is. And I don't always, I know what I'm called to. I know what I'm drawn to do, but I don't know the larger purpose necessarily. I just know this is my calling. And to reject that calling, Joseph Campbell, the mythologist, has a great phrase. He says, when you don't answer the call, this is like the hero's call he's talking about, you resign your life to living in a realm of organized inadequacy. And I think, holy man, is that a loaded phrase? We have more messages. I don't know if we have time to.
We don't really. I want to finish with Georgios's final phrase. He says, you can convey meaning, and that is a form of attunement, because it makes sense and serves as the necessary catalyst for us to follow your thoughts and process. Thank you. I'm seeing a lot of thank yous as well in the chat. I'm sure everybody enjoyed this. We do have to wrap up and allow Philip to go on his day, because we promised him 45 minutes for this. Thank you so much, Philip. It's an amazing pleasure, and just so good to have you with us and share in your wisdom and in your insights. And everyone, I've pasted Philip's website in the chat there for those of you that came in late. It's embodiedpresent.com. Visit it, check out the resources. Also, check out the links I pasted, share this event with a friend, and see you in the next talk. Thank you very much, Philip.
Thank you, Virginia. Thank you, everyone. It's really been a pleasure sharing this time with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. See you soon, hopefully.
Thank you.
Tack så mycket.
Thank you.
See you down the